Okay, today's July 4, Independence Day in America, and also we're hoping for some more independence here in Gippsland because we've got all the truckies out here united to actually try and educate and help the people understand what's happened to the government here. They made a decision to extend all the logging to 2030, and then with last year's budget they actually made a sudden decision to end everything in 6 months. This is going to cause catastrophe to the whole Shire, all the communities, all the people who've got jobs associated with it, with virtually no time at all to prepare for other jobs and any form of transition. So we'll come and talk to a few people and you'll come and see some of their stories. Come with me. Can I just ask you, we're just from the local community, we're from Traff.
Okay, and what's your part in all this?
Nothing more than we just belong to the communities. We do community markets down in Traralgon and whatever, but we also love the fact of communities coming together. So we've got Jeremy over here looks after market gardens.
G'day, Jeremy.
And he does all the organic seedlings and whatever, selling at the markets. And I think we're at the cold face of feeling how the community are feeling, where 6 years we were given a time to transition. And all of a sudden it's gone to 6 months and there's a shock. People are in shock. Yes.
It's a bit raw.
It is.
It's a bit raw.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of families and industries around here. Like, I'm not in logging, I'm in produce. Look, we use cardboard. We use cardboard, our farmers use cardboard.
Yes.
So you take away the industry, where's our cardboard coming from for our farmers to pack their produce in? They're pushing us to get out of plastics, we're doing that, now we're getting into cardboards and products like that. So where's all that going to come from?
Yes.
And is it going to be Australian made? No, it's not.
No.
So, I mean, I'm all for import and export if there's a balance of trade, but there's no balance of trade here.
No.
This is one-way traffic.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, is it Dan Andrews? I can't see how the local council have got anything to do with it, but
no.
I'm here for the brother truckers here.
Yes.
And
And it's a lot of rig there, isn't it, to think what's going to happen in 6 months' time. A lot to go
the auction
on
yards
Facebook.
are filling up now.
That's right.
Do we want to make it worse?
Absolutely.
I don't want to make it worse. I want to see I love it when I see families go forward, and I'm looking at Luke Blackwood's truck now. He'd be fourth generation for sure. I haven't spotted Luke yet.
Yeah. And these guys down here, and they were heroes of Gippsland, these blokes.
They were. Yeah.
Absolutely.
They still are.
Yeah.
And what's going with the likes of them now?
Yeah.
You know, they're going to go pack shelves in a supermarket. I don't think so.
Terrible.
But that's my view. My view is...
And Wayne, can we have a chat with you?
I can't express my views.
No, you don't have to express your views. So how long have you been in Gippsland, Wayne?
Oh, God.
Yesterday?
30 years.
30 years? Well, have you seen any difference in the last 30 years? I know.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Plenty of difference, but I can't comment on it because I'm here on official
official
capacity.
That's fine, I fully understand that. But I know that even 50 years ago, this was the money-making hub for the state.
We were just talking about that before you arrived.
And for the timber.
Now
Now we're like the cancer of Victoria, and we've all of a sudden... we're disappearing, but there's no lifeline out there. Where do we go? 6 months. There's just the mental shock of 6 months is a lot for people to get used to.
Yes, it would be.
Well, look, we hope it's a peaceful one this afternoon and there's no
sure
problems.
Yeah.
I did bring my bag of Jaffas. I better go and listen to what they're saying.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind hearing what they're saying.
Yeah. All right. Lovely talk, Wayne. Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy yourself.
Cheers. We have Carleen Haylock here, organised the event. And how was today? Was it something that you, all that you expected?
Oh, and more. Look, we did this in 3 or 4 days, and look, the numbers have exceeded what we thought. You know, we were hoping to get 20 or 30 people, but, you know, we've got a couple of hundred people here, I would gather. So, yeah. And the people have travelled so far, so that's been, you know, fantastic.
We did get 20 to 30 policemen.
Well, that is great too, because they're all part of Gippsland and part of this community. So we fight for all. We're just concerned ratepayers that we just want our communities to be vibrant, and that's what we're here for.
I think it's immoral that a country as rich and as wealthy as Australia closed down its own renewable timber industry, and I use that word, renewable timber industry, our native forests, and we're going to buy our timber from some of the poorest countries in the world who have no controls, no environmental controls whatsoever over their timber industries. And we're going to buy it from them.
Reflex paper all the way from China doesn't make sense.
We fought against this and been fighting against this for the last 20 years. We've got it into government contracts that we have to have Australian-made copy paper, and now we're not going to have that option at all. I mean, that's just a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. And it shows you that handing over our industries to international companies is not necessarily in the best interest of Australia's people.
This is one of the last of the industries that actually knit our society together. How do you think it's going to affect these small communities where the majority of people are involved either in the timber industries or the associated?
Of course they'll be devastated. And people just think, oh, you're taking a few trucks off the road, so what, and a few contractors won't be in the forests. No, all those trucks are serviced. All those people have children that go to schools in small country towns. They all have kids that go to kindergartens. They keep the whole place going. Where there's high schools in those small towns, they are the backbone of the high schools. And it goes on and on and on. You end up closing the kinder, you close your school, you lose your population. They have to go elsewhere to do other things. I've seen so much of that decline across Australia over so many years, and I've been small country areas. But this is a decision of government. This is a decision of government on behalf of green activists in the city. And if you have a government run by green activists, this is what you get. And it hits places like Traralgon all the way through to the east.
How do you think that's going to affect the fabric of our society?
Oh, it's just going to destroy this region, absolutely destroy this region. We know there's 5,000 to 10,000 jobs across Gippsland related to the timber industry. We know in Latrobe City the figures I've got is around about 2,000 jobs. It will devastate us. The coal industry's really hurt, and that's not going to help. But losing our native timber industry, losing our white paper manufacture, losing our brown paper bags manufacture out at Australian Paper Mill, Opal, it's just going to have a huge rolling impact. Because it's not just the timber workers, it's the tyres for their trucks, it's the diesel mechanics, it's the suppliers, the Cat trying to supply equipment, Tiger Cat trying to supply equipment, Komatsu trying to supply equipment. And what it's done, I mean, this is the really sad part, is I've actually heard that there's guys with $800,000 worth of machinery that's now absolutely useless. It's just devastating.
There's nowhere to sell it to?
No one can take it on because what you harvest in the native timber, what the harvesters you use, cannot be used in pine plantations. So it's a waste of equipment and it can't be sold anywhere else. And they're shutting us down right across Australia. It's just absolutely hopeless. November last year we had a meeting with the Australian Forestry Contractors Association. I just sat at a table of 10. 4 of the people there were involved in 2 businesses that had just spent $800,000 and $750,000 on new equipment. They hadn't been able to use it since May last year. So they'd gone through their life savings, they were probably going to lose their houses. Their mental health was gone, and one of them said to me, he said, you know, why would I want to keep going? He said, if it wasn't for the lady sitting next to me, I wouldn't be here. I would have topped myself. And he was open and honest about it. And it's going to be huge impact on those people. But it's also going to be the guy that's running the petrol store out at Omeo or Hayfield, you know, that's out at Tyres, that gets the truck drivers going past. All of a sudden, they're not going to have as much trade. They're going to have to lay people off, and maybe their business isn't going to survive either. And it's a mental health on them of how do they pay their lease? How do they pay the bank back? All those extra costs, the mental health's going to be horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
And do you think the people having their lattes in Brunswick would even know about this?
Wouldn't give a damn. I think even if they do, we were in Melbourne a little while ago, and I had a Dan Don't Destroy Our Timber Jobs cap on, and a lady came up and tried to tell me that those timber workers will be able to get jobs elsewhere. And I was telling her, no, they won't, because they work with their hands. There's no other jobs in the area. Morwell's got a 12 to 17% unemployment rate. Where are they going to get a job? She didn't care. She goes, we're saving the trees. I said, you do realise it's the most highly regulated industry in the world is our timber industry. Now we're going to get it from Indonesia where there's no guarantees. And she just had no answer. She goes, but we're saving trees here. And I thought, you idiot, you've got no clue. You know, and unfortunately, that's across the board. They just don't get it. They just don't get it.
And as well as being a local councillor, you're also involved in the timber industry?
Now, I'm president of the National Timber Councils Association, which is for councils that rely on the timber industry. Personally, have no input into the timber industry, not related to anybody in the timber industry, just have a passion for it. I grew up in Sale or just out of Sale. We had pine plantations all around us, a state forest that was partially harvested behind us. We saw the effect of the bushfire going through a state forest that hadn't been logged. and it almost took out our family home. It devastated so many animals, it devastated so many farms in the area, and I realised at that point something needed to be done. And my dad said, if you get a logging crew in there, we wouldn't have had that problem. And that woke me up to the timber industry do so much more than just run a renewable asset. They actually look after the ecology. 10 years from now, we're going to have a fire start in East Gippsland, and it'll go all the way through the mountains, and it won't stop until it gets to Mount Dandenong. And maybe then, those inner city elites, when the ash is raining down on them, will go, we got it wrong. But there'll be no animals left, there'll be no trees left, there'll be no forest left. It'll be gone, it'll be wiped out. The leadbeater that they're worried about, which was thought sent extinct with a bushfire at the beginning of last century, is going to go extinct because there'll be nothing to save at this time. There'll be no forest workers. There'll be nowhere for them to go. There'll be no logged areas that'll provide a cool burn area for them to survive in. We're going to lose the lot.
If you were here before Sharon goes to the council meeting, Sharon was one of the councillors who was with Dale Harriman, caused to rescind this act which the Andrews government wants to kill the timber industry in 6 months. Sharon, any comments?
Oh, it's just wrong. They spout about climate change, this is the opposite, because growing trees absorb more carbon. So it is the ultimate renewable industry. Overseas understand it, but why can't we?
And now, Darren, you started My Place in Frankston. What was the history of all that?
That was back in October 2021, about 3 weeks after we were at the union office when they forced the mandate vaccinations on my 2 boys. So it was purely a place for people to come and connect with each other and be able to get together that didn't have a vax passport and weren't allowed to go out to pubs or weren't allowed to work.
Now, what about today? What's your thoughts on today?
I'm just here to support community again, and My Place Traralgon, along with their common law groups down here, getting behind the loggers, and more jobs being lost to the area after they shut down the power stations not that long ago as well. So, I'm just here to support people that are getting railroaded.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Darren.
No problem. Thank you.
Show us about your truck over there, because we didn't hear the noise coming on there.
Well, there's a couple of chainsaws there that my grandfather used and my uncles and my own father. And basically it's quite sort of touching that, native bush has been here for over 200 years, since the English have been here. Really, all I can say is our timber industry needs to be put back to selecting timber and taking the big stuff out, because it doesn't burn the carbon like the small timber does. Smaller timber actually takes more carbon out of our air, and the smaller timber is definitely the way to go. I think this industry could still go on as a selected timber, but not clear falling everything. But now you're actually talking about going out of Australia to get timber for a paper mill to keep operating. It's pitiful, because I just heard that they're actually bringing boats in from Tasmania with loads of logs on, and it's costing about $8,500 a load. So this is where our government is gone over too far in too quick without putting the steps in place. And it's the same as basically in New York. They're talking about that all wood-fired pizzas are shutting down right now as we speak. So is that going to happen here in Australia? Our barbecues in the backyard aren't going to be able to use a bit of wood? Of course it's going to be. That's what's going to come. It's right around the world what's going on, and it's about time that everyone that has got a young family and wants to burn a bit of wood in their Canara, or maybe have a pizza oven at their home, you need to start to stand with these sort of people that are here in Traralgon tonight, because these people are actually losing their homes and their trucks right now. I saw it in the early 2001 and 2 with Steve Bracks. He stripped and paid log contractors out. And I know several of them in the Trafalgar area that got paid big money and basically put on their ass for 5 years, but they got paid out. It's about time that our governments started to back off and start to look after the industry, what's sustainable here in this country, especially Victoria. It's just absolutely gobsmacking when we've got an industry here in this country and we can't use it. Next, it's going to be our GMO food that is going to be planted by what the government tells us to plant. So all you people at Thorpedale need to start to wake up. All you people at Lindenau with green grocers, you need to all start to wake up, because it's coming for every one of yous. And if you don't see it coming, it's come for the timber game, it's come for the coal game, and now it will come for the greens and basically all your food products that's going in our mouths. It's all poison as far as I'm concerned.
When there's someone's been given, instead of 6 years to transition, they've been given 6 months. How would you think that affects the psychology of families, sports clubs, communities, businesses?
Yeah, well, it can only have a detrimental effect at the end of the day, can't it? But it just seems like there's so many different ways that they're coming at us. So that's always a concern, isn't it? So you start to think, is this all part of a conspiracy, or is it me? Am I the problem? But it's just that we're being attacked on so many different levels that at what point do you say that's enough too? Like you say, the fabric of the society. I think we're being attacked. Our cultural identity is being attacked, particularly as traditional Australians. We're being asked to forget our cultural identity. We're being asked to forget who we are, as if we're worth nothing and as if we never existed. And I think people are frightened to have that conversation. And I think it's the most important conversation we can possibly be having at this point in time. So if this is a place where we can actually begin to have that conversation, pushing back against traditional industries, then so be it. Count me in. Yeah.
50 years ago, we were the heroes here with coal and timber.
Sure.
And we produced so much income for the government. Now all of a sudden the tables are turned and they don't want to know us. We're like the cancer for the state.
Yeah, so what is that agenda? Like you say, so it's not just about timber, it's about coal as well. It's about industries, regional industries, which are the backbone of this country in many respects. All that information technology that people have because they've had, years of working in those areas. Yeah, I don't know. Good. What are they trying to do?
Well,
what are they actually trying to do?
That's right. But the good thing is, keep up the good work, because you are creating conversation.
Yeah, it's good.
And you are bringing people more to the understanding that we've got to question what more things apart from what the newspapers are saying. To look.
Well, we don't have any representation. We don't have any institutional representation at all. And I think that's slowly dawning on people.
Fabulous.
So what does that mean? What comes after that?
I know. Therein lies the question. Thank you very much, David. Great chatting.
Good to talk. Cheers, mate.
No, we're just coming. We know you can't say anything, but we'd just like to thank you all for being good, polite, and we hope we're a respectful crowd for you all. That's good. So, can I ask a question? If you weren't here, where would you be today? Behind a nice warm office or out in the car? Sure.
On the way home.
On the way home.
We're doing overtime.
Oh, you're doing overtime?
Yeah, we are.
So that's great.
Yeah.
Well,
just for you guys.
It's nice to be out in the things. We have Noel here from GPC, made a great, passionate speech about what was happening. And Noel, what did you take of the afternoon?
I thought it was a great turn up. Actually, it was wonderful to see so many people come out, and the trucks, and the presentation of our community. It was really, really good.
We had some politicians, some councillors.
Yeah, we had a good cover of presidents actually. So it's touched everybody, and we'll wait and see where it goes from here. I'm sure no one's going to let the issue go, because there's going to be some serious suffering in the future. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. There's an exciting council meeting on this evening.
Yes.
With a couple of motions being put forward. One has some substance, some others have no substance. But it'll be interesting to see what happens.
And the only way that we can get to this meeting tonight is by Zoom, is that correct?
That's correct, because we've been locked out of the council gallery, where the public can interact with their governance, and so that's been denied. So we actually are experiencing here tonight at the Traralgon Performing Arts Centre the death of democracy. But again, that's going to be turned around too, because when you live in a democracy, you can't cut the public out. The public are the democracy.
And they actually pay the councillors.
They certainly do, but the councillors have forgotten that.
So here we have Dave. Now you're from Willow Grove. You have the timber mill near there?
Yes, Hill End, yes.
At Hill End. And how is this 6-month emergency announcement going to affect your mill?
Well, we've lost timber that used to support 15 workers. And yeah, at the end of the year, we've got to either seek alternative forms of timber to cut, otherwise, scale down or close down.
So how has the government helped you in this 6-month transition plan?
So far they haven't actually done anything. So we've heard that they're going to wrap their arms around us and help with transition ideas, but so far nothing.
And the first you ever heard of this was when they did the budget report?
That's correct, yeah.
What about the mental health? What about the ability for families to think they've got to relocate? All the associated industries, how do you think they'll be affected?
Well, it's not just with that, they're getting everything all at once. So interest rates are going up, fuel prices are going up, electricity, just the price of living overall is all going up. So it's just bombard and then employers, they're getting superannuation going up, minimum wages going up. So it's just bombarding in every which direction to send everybody broke faster and faster.
Well, we hope this message goes out far and wide to wake people up, because people in the city have no idea what the effect is of that decision.
And that's right. And there's two questions that everybody in the city and every politician should be made to answer. And Daniel Andrews has said we're going to transition into plantation. Two questions. One, say if you needed 100,000 hectares tomorrow to establish the plantations to keep the hardwood industry going, where would you put the 100,000 hectares to do it? There's two options. It's either private land, which you can't expect people to go and give up private land and plant trees for a 30 or 40 year investment. Otherwise, you've got to clear native vegetation off public land and put in plantations. And then the other question is, when the plantations are established with the mountain ash, messmate, all the current species that we need, what stops the possums and the native flora and fauna being affected when they log that? What's the difference between the native now and the plantation? So are they going to fence it, or what would you do?
These are the sort of questions that they just wouldn't think about in a decision like that. And not only that, the cost, the time and everything.
Yeah, so those two questions alone need to be answered before we can even think about shutting it down and moving on.
Well, we're just finishing up now, and it was a demonstration that took 3 days to organise, so we thank you all for the police that came. They were all very good. All people very concerned at what's going to happen when this industry closes in 6 months. The fabric of society will be shaken, it'll be a disaster for Gippsland, and we just hope this message goes far and wide of the concern that we do have here in Traralgon. Thank you very much.